Welcome to an edition of Boxing Info. I'm your host, The Islander. Yes, I know it's been 2 weeks since the last show, but here's the way it goes. I mean, I think I previewed the Dawson Tarver fight, and there really hasn't been, there's been like one fight of significance, at least visible on TV in the United States since then, and that was the Andre Ward and Edison Miranda fight, which I will recap for you. Making these videos, as you know, a lot of people who do them will tell you, it's getting time to do them is getting harder and harder to come by, as well as uploading them and all the nonsense you have to deal with YouTube. On top of the fact that since the other account got closed, I've got to limit these videos to 10 minutes. Needless to say, I've just wasted 45 seconds explaining that. Anyway, since the last time I spoke to you guys, 2 weeks ago Friday, Craig McEwen, or I think it was a week ago anyway, scored a 10-round unanimous decision over Brian Vera in a fight that I guess proved McEwen can deal with a rough and tumble guy like Vera and look, I mean, okay to me. Doesn't look like he can really, he can't hit like Andy Lee can in regards to hurting Vera. Excuse me. But anyway, he came out fairly unscathed in that fight, and he will move on to bigger and better things. The 9th in Las Vegas, Chad Dawson, Antonio Tarver. Not a virtual replay of their first fight, but a more competitive replay of their first fight. I had the fight scored 8 rounds to 4. The rounds I gave to Tarver were a little bit different than what Harold Letterman showed on the screen, but I think 8 rounds to 4 is about right. An argument may be able to be made for 7 rounds to 5. I don't see it, and 9 rounds to 3 is a stretch, although I can live with it. I'm really disappointed with HBO for not getting Tarver's post-fight interview, because the look on his face when the scores are being read, remember, he's under the impression that he's winning the fight, and again, the connect percentages, you're pretty much told the story. I mean, when Tarver punched, he missed and landed occasionally, and when Dawson punched, he landed. But I guess the thing to really take from this is that the scores are being read 117 to 11, 116, 112, 117, 111, and Tarver's going, he thought he won the fight. I guess he kind of knew he lost the fight by those scores, and I really would have liked to have heard what he had to say, but neither here nor there. I think HBO, especially with Max Kellerman, did a pretty good job of actually outlining the fact that this was not the kind of performance that was going to garner any pressure to Joe Calzaghe to come back. I mean, look, if Dawson wants to, he could play keep away from Calzaghe, and there'd be no chance of the fight ending in a stoppage. And I personally don't think he's got the work rate to keep up with Calzaghe. Just my amateur opinion here. But that's, I like Dawson. I like him as a fighter. I think that Tarver did offer a sterner test this time. But, what does a fighter in his situation do, who really can't lure one of the big names like a Hopkins or a Calzaghe back? And that is, you do what other champions of, Joe Calzaghe fought in the shadows forever and racked up 15 title defenses before finally somebody took notice. And the same thing goes for, Dawson. Just start racking up title defenses, unify titles if you can. Build up your resume and your aura about you as being unbeatable at this weight, and it will bring the bigger fights to you. Such as maybe someday an Arthur Abraham or a Kelly Pavlik will grow into that weight class, or Carl Frosch, or Mikkel Kessler, something to that effect. That's just my advice and my 2 cents about that. Why the general public, including the broadcast team, doesn't point this out. I mean, believe me, Michael Spinks went years, made 10 title defenses before he finally, got to move up to heavyweight and get a fight with Larry Holmes. I mean, you got to stay put and take what may seem like the meaningless fights to do defense after defense after defense. People are crapping all over Joe Calzaghe's record, crapping all over Bernard Hopkins' record, but those 2 guys made nearly 20, both of them 20 title defenses each. I mean, and their legacy is built, or the foundation of their legacy is built on that. Okay, fast forward to last Friday night's fights on ESPN, and undefeated heavyweight powder puncher Kevin Johnson scored a TKO in 6 rounds over last-minute replacement U.S. Olympian Devin Vargas, the captain of the team. I gotta feel sorry for Vargas. They took this fight on 9 days' notice when Monty Barrett got cut in training. He shouldn't be fighting anyway. And Johnson took full advantage of this, scoring 2 knockdowns. And I heard I guess Vargas was saying he couldn't hear out of his drums. Later reports said that he had his, I think, right eardrum perforated. A good solid win for Johnson, and this has been few and far between with him because he's left crowds booing him, but hopefully he can develop off of this and move forward to tougher competition. That brought us to Saturday night on Showbox in Oakland, in which Andre Ward was taking a big step up in competition when he was taking on Edison Miranda. And the only thing that I will say that in hindsight I would have picked Ward to win the fight, but I thought maybe he would stop Miranda just because Miranda would eventually get reckless and frustrated at a little bit of movement, and the fact that Wood would win the numbers game, the volume game, with landing a lot more punches and a lot more hard punches to Miranda's one at a time bombs. And my impression before this fight was that Miranda would get careless, Miranda would get impatient and leave himself open for something. Well, he did, and he took the shots well. Ward, I think, showed steady improvement, and I think this is the situation with this, and the question with Ward from where I stand. If somebody's got power like Miranda does, do they have the vehicle to deliver it? It's one thing to have nuclear capability, it's another thing to have a vehicle to deliver it. Carl Frosch has speed to deliver it. Mikkel Kessler has speed to deliver not so hard power, but sharp power. And the same thing with the likes of Jermaine Taylor. And I guess I would, Jeff Lacey on the other hand is in the same situation as Miranda. He's got the power and doesn't have very many weapons to deliver it. What is going to happen when Ward faces one of those guys who has power and has the means, whether it's speed or the straightness of the punches and the accuracy, to deliver it? And that's the questions I want answered by him. Looks like it takes a solid punch from what I could see against Miranda, but again, it was one punch at a time, and a very good win for Andre Ward. Alright, this week's schedule, because I've got a little bit of tangent to go off on this. Friday night fights in Miami, ESPN 2. Richie Gutierrez returning to the welterweight division according to the schedule to take on Anton Smith, who's an up-and-comer. Should be a decent fight. Flip of a coin of who's going to win. I would favor Gutierrez, but I wouldn't be surprised if Smith outworks him. Gutierrez segues me to a comments I'm hearing all over the place, or reading all over the place, including on my channel, about Joshua Clottey and his upcoming fight with Miguel Cotto. I'm not going to get into previewing this, but I want all of you to actually stop and think real hard and do some research. I want you to look on his record. Go to boxrec.com and pull up Joshua Clottey's record. He has one stoppage victory in the last 5 years, and that was a questionable, very quick stoppage 2 fights ago against Jose Luis Cruz, who was painfully slow, which was on the Versus Network in Brooklyn. Good, close to home fight for him, in which the fight was stopped very prematurely against this Jose Luis Cruz, who had also lost to Shane Mosley on a decision and this and that. But you go back, this is now May of 2009, the last time he scored a stoppage in any fight was over somebody named Christopher Henry in July, almost 5 years ago. What makes some of you think that he's going to stop Miguel Cotto? Personally, I think that this is going to be a competitive fight, but I think the difference in class is going to show itself. And that's just me. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I mean, no big deal. That's just a little segue here. Okay, May 23rd on No TV here in the United States that I know of, in Monterrey, Mexico, a fairly significant fight. Toshiaki Nishioka, who is now holding the WBC Super Bantamweight or Junior Featherweight belt that Israel Vasquez, he hasn't vacated, but he's been given, injury leave, and he's champion emeritus, and this guy's got, I guess, an interim belt, or it could be a full-fledged belt. I don't know, and I don't really care, but the fact is he's got the belt. And he's going to be taking on Jhonny Gonzalez, who's getting his second shot at this belt. Remember, he was in a rock'em sock'em fight with Israel Vasquez, had Vasquez down twice before he succumbed in the 10th round of that fight. So that should be an interesting fight. Not very often that an Asian fighter comes over to the United States and goes to Mexico and wins. It has happened. Generally, it's not against the kind of competition that Jhonny Gonzalez is. We'll see. I'm giving Jhonny Gonzalez the edge here. On that undercard, Raphael Marquez makes his return after being gone for a year after recovering from his trilogy against Israel Vasquez, and he will be fighting somebody named Jose Mendoza in the featherweight division. That's going to about do it for the show. Keep posting, keep watching, and I will be back as soon as I can with another video. Thanks.